friends and listeners. We are proud to present today's guest, Ms.Sabari Raja. Ms. Raja has an undergraduate degree in electrical engineering from India, a master's in computer science from Louisiana State University, and an executive MBA degree from Southern Methodist University, popularly known as SMU. Ms. Raja is the co-founder and CEO of Nepris, the first of its kind. Nepris is a cloud-based platform that specializes in connecting industry and education. She has worked in education technology for 17 years. She has led products and content strategy, business development, publisher relations, and emerging market growth strategies. Ms. Raja plays an active role in furthering STEM education around the country. She is also passionate about working with educators to translate their needs into scalable technology solutions. And Ms. Raja is also my mentor. Ms. Raja, welcome. We are so excited to have you on our show. Let's talk computer science.
Thank you, Sandhya. I really appreciate it.
So tell us more about your work. How did you get to where you are today?
It's a loaded question, Sandhya. So, my background has always been in education technology. What I mean by that is coming out of college with a computer science degree, when I was looking for a programming job, I luckily ended up with Texas Instruments in their education technology group. And I wrote the first version of the software that actually talked to the TI-83 plus calculators. That's how I got started in the EdTech industry. But it was a perfect fit for me, given my background in computer science and my passion for working with, girls and minorities in STEM education. It was a perfect opportunity for me to kind of connect all the dots and do something about sort of bridging this gap between industry and education. I was part of, even while I was working for Texas Instruments Education Group, I was part of many of these STEM education groups around the country. I was involved with many of these discussions where, the intermediaries, higher education, industry leaders, K12 leaders, everybody were coming together, having day-long discussions about what is the role of industry in education. And being part of this, it was evident that while so many stakeholders had the right intentions, technology wasn't playing a role in connecting industry and education in a way that we really wanted it to scale. So I saw this as an opportunity and a gap that I was in a unique position to sort of marry my technology background, my knowledge of the edtech industry, and coming from the industry side to be able to connect these dots. And, I co-founded this company with Binu, and both of us together realized that there was huge impact to be made in connecting industry and education and using technology to do that in a scalable way. So that's how Nepris got started in being part of many of these conversations around the country.
Can you tell us more about Nepris?
Yeah, so Nepris is an education technology company. We have a cloud-based platform that sits in between industry and education and virtually connects working professionals into classrooms, mainly to bring real-world relevance to learning and in the process bring career exposure. So the number one problem that we are solving in education is 47% of kids drop out because they don't see the relevance of school. And there's huge opportunity gap between students who have access and students who don't. So our goal has been, how do we bring relevance to learning and how do we bring exposure to every student, no matter where they are or who they are, right? So that's really what we do, is we're sitting in between industry and education and matching and finding and connecting the right people into classrooms at the right time in order to bring that real world relevance to learning.
Yep, that's really needed. That's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
So what are some goals and objectives for the next few years?
Well, we've been doing this for the last 8 years almost. It's hard to believe. But so far, we've reached over 1.2 million students in K-12 and some in community colleges as well. There are, hundreds and hundreds of companies that are using our platform to connect with the classrooms in order to prepare students for the future of work. So our job is to continue building this and reaching more and more students across the country. We have an opportunity to work outside of the US to expand the platform. We're now actually also looking at how do we make the platform available for higher education and maybe even workforce centers, adult education. So these are all opportunities to sort of grow the platform and make more impact and reach more, not just K through 12 students, but anybody, any learner for that matter, because everybody is always learning. You don't have to be in the school or the classroom. You can be a job seeker. You can be an adult in a working environment wanting to learn more about a different pathway or a different career. So we want to sort of expand access across the board, and that's what we're focused on.
That's good. That's cool. Yeah, that makes total sense, right? It's why just kids and probably more impact for the people who are working, like immediate.
Yeah.
Where do you think K12 education is headed?
Well, it's an interesting time to ask this question. I don't think anybody has the perfect answer, but if we've learned anything in the last year and a half, is virtual learning is here to stay. Kids are back, most kids are back in school in person, but there's been more understanding and appreciation of virtual learning platforms. And everybody is going into it understanding that there's ability to scale in a virtual environment, whether it's work-based learning, whether it's job shadows. These are all opportunities to engage students outside the four walls of the classroom, and virtual is here to stay in order to make that accessible and available to everybody, no matter whether they're in a rural school district, in an underserved school district, they're coming from communities where they don't have the strong network of professionals within their own communities. That's what we are seeing from our world, right? So it's mainly looking at technology as not one more thing to do, but technology as something that's inherent to the everyday classroom. So, and the other thing is also, real world learning has been something that's an aspiration for more classrooms, but it is becoming more of a how we teach students every single day. We don't have to, one thing we're seeing is, running a once a year career day is not enough. If you're learning about rocks, how can you talk to a geologist right away? If you're learning about ratios and proportions, how can you talk to an architect? So embedding these sort of real world scenarios in the day-to-day core curriculum is something we're seeing happen across the board. The other trend that we are seeing now is that career readiness is not something that has to be discussed only at high school. It is going all the way down to elementary. One example of somebody who's doing this work phenomenally well is Cajon Valley Unified in California. They've come up with this whole world of work framework, and it's a K through 8 school district that's doing amazing work in engaging elementary students with real world connections and opportunities, which is the right way to teach kids, to lay that strong foundation of knowing why they're learning what they're learning at a very early age. So these are some of the trends we see in our world. The career and technical education itself has become a huge priority for most states, whereas many years back, CTE was considered sort of vocational education, not for your mainstream in the core curriculum sense, but it is now becoming more and more important, where CTE is an option for every single student going through any school program. So,
yeah, that's interesting. That's really good progress in the right direction. So, have you noticed any new different trends? You spoke to most of it in the K12 education, and how is Nepris adapting to those trends?
Yeah, no, there are so many other trends, like about, AR, VR, using VR in education. There's so many other trends that are happening. I'm just only talking about the ones that are relevant to our work, right? Yeah, mostly at this point, I mean, before COVID, we used to work with a handful of virtual schools. But I think one thing we're seeing is many of our regular public schools are also talking about offering virtual as a permanent option to not lose the kids that are not able to attend a traditional school. That I think is progress. It's still long ways to go because policies need to change, state level decision makers have to accept all of these. But yeah, the trend, again, I talked a little bit about this, is what does virtual mean for every school district? Is this something that we just do as a stopgap when there is a pandemic, or is this something that we adopt and extend as a part of a solution and a channel to reach more students?
So any final words that you'd like to add, Sabari?
No, I think, relevant to our work that we do, there is a lot of focus on computer science and coding, and there are not many kids coming out of the pipeline qualified to take these high wage jobs. But at the same time, another trend that we are seeing is that we're not just focused on promoting these high demand, high wage careers. It's more also there's a whole group of skilled trades where students can be gainfully employed. So we are seeing a lot of focus from companies, even like Samsung and General Motors and others, that are offering topics on what kind of skilled trades careers are available within these companies. Traditionally, we always talked about engineering and programming and computer science, and those are still very important. But there's also an option of welding and carpentry and plumbing and master technicians, and there's a whole range of these careers that are more accessible to more students, and you can still be in the technology field and doing skilled trades and making good salary, gainful employment. Because at the end of the day, it's, are you gainfully employed, you're happy and have a career path, and you can go in either direction. So we're starting to focus more and more on all these different pathways, not just the high wage STEM careers, but a whole lot of skilled trades as well.
Yeah, you're right. Like even if everyone has access to a CS teacher and laptops and everything, it's still not for everyone. But as you said, technology is embedded into, regardless of the career they're going to choose.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for your time. I know you're extremely busy. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to me and talk to our audience. Thanks.
Absolutely, Sandhya. Thank you so much.